This is Jonathan Lane from Fan Film Factor, and today I am here again with Mr. Joshua Irwin and Mr. Tyler Donovan of the AVALON universe. And they come here to Fan Film Factor a lot because, quite frankly, they make a lot of fan films, a lot of excellent ones, actually. And their most recent one, Knights of the Void, has recently come out, and it was another masterpiece, I have to say. Applause.
Thank you.
So, anyway, this time Josh has asked for me to concentrate more on Tyler because he doesn't usually get as much of the spotlight as we say, because Josh is the showrunner, but Tyler is the star and director, especially of this episode, which is a Derek Mason episode. And in fact, we don't actually see Jaconde or Allenby or any of the crew of the Excalibur, which is a little bit on the unusual side for AVALON universe. So I know I said I was going to talk to Tyler, but I want to talk to Josh first. So why divert to an all Derek and of course Jamie Archer episode from your regular fare?
Well, these are two very important characters in AVALON universe that, they were two of the main characters in Ghost Ship, and they're still two of the main characters of the entire saga. And what became Knights of the Void wasn't originally supposed to be a film. It was going to be just kind of like Agent of New Worlds, where at the end there's this post-credit sequence that goes into their story. The plan was to do that on several films, where there would be a main section about the Excalibur, and then we'd go into a post-credit sequence about the story of Jamie and Derek. And so I had written several of these, and we just talked about it and decided, no, let's give Jamie and Derek their own film. And they are main characters. They're just as important as the other characters on the Excalibur. They deserve their own film in the saga. We had previously done that with Cosmic Stream, so we wanted to keep that going. And you've got some sort of parallel journeys going on, where you've got the journey of where Derek and Jamie are going, and then of course where the Excalibur crew and Allenby is going, and there's going to be a point where they meet together and share the adventure.
All righty, now let's go over to Tyler here. Now, are you the director of this episode? I can't remember.
I did some co-directing on some of the later stuff. We shot a lot of it. A lot of this film was shot back before, a little over about a year and a half ago, actually, before Josh asked me to step back into the director's chair. So some of this, a lot of the stuff that we shot later, any of the stuff that we've shot in the past, I'd say 9 months or so since October. Yes, I was able to co-direct, but before that, no. Like some of the scenes, like the auxiliary control scene that shot in Kingsland, February of 22, February, the last February. That was I was not directing at that point. So I did some directing in this film. But the next two, I very heavily co-directed. So,
and those next two that are coming out, just so you know, are going to be what looks amazing Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs. That I think is going to be a fan film for the ages. And I've already seen some clips, as Josh has already edited a bunch of it. But having the same actor or actress on screen with themselves at the same time playing different characters it's not easy to do. Not easy to direct and not easy to edit. So you're really looking forward to that one. That was coming out on Halloween, right? That's
the plan. And it looks like that's on target. That was the original release date for Ghost Ship. And interestingly enough, at this time in 2018, we hadn't even started shooting Ghost Ship. It would have been another month before we had even started production on Ghost Ship, and we made Halloween. So we're probably 40% of the way through the edit on Crisis, and we've got one pickup day on it scheduled for October. So it's looking like it's coming together. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. And then, of course, the this one ends with a Captain Mason and Jamie Archer will return in what will be the series finale, correct, of Avalon Universe, and that is the Once and Future Captain.
Which we have to credit a certain Jonathan Lane for helping us come up with the title for it.
I remember that. It's all these Avalon storylines, have a very King Arthur, Excalibur feel to them. So the Once and Future Captain just seemed to me to be, an obvious way to go. But anyway, so they will return.
And also for writing a scene or a few scenes, writing a subplot for Crisis.
Yeah, you did some writing on that. Yep. So,
in which I got to sing most of my dialogue.
Indeed, and that was very important. Yes. So just to give you an idea what's coming, Tyler was not going to be in Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, which I thought was a sin. It's such a big episode with so many potential characters. I thought, how could we get Tyler in to Crisis? And we'll talk more about this after October, but just so you guys know, it was one of those things where I had a dream. I literally woke up from a dream with the episode, because I'd read the script before I went to sleep, and I was just thinking, okay, it needs a little more comedy and it needs Tyler. And I was just those were the two things that were going through the computer program of my mind before going to sleep. And I woke up, I just knew it had to happen, and I contacted Josh and I said, now I know Tyler does Michael J. Fox impersonations, and I said, do I remember correctly that he also does Elvis? And Josh said, yeah, he could do Elvis. I'm like, okay.
Well, I never have before, but it's like, yeah, why not?
Well, we've been talking, we've been throwing around this idea for, we've been throwing around this idea for a long time that there would be, Tyler as Elvis on the bridge, just, like commanding a ship as Elvis, as kind of a James Cawley homage, basically.
Yeah.
And so we had just kind of tossed some sort of vague idea around like that since before we even made Ghost Ship.
And seriously, James Cawley, when you see this episode, we were not trying to piss you off. In fact, if anything, the whole idea was to honor
it's a person.
As far as we're concerned, James Cawley is sort of the father of the modern era of Star Trek fan films.
It's true.
And everything he did with Star Trek New Voyages, it brought fan films to another level back in the early 2000s. And as some folks may or may not know, James Cawley it's his job as an Elvis impersonator, and he's a very good one. But anyway, so the idea that I had to have Tyler be an Elvis wasn't, in my mind, a James Cawley thing. But when I mentioned it to Josh, and he said, "Oh yeah, well, we were planning on doing that anyway." At some just having Tyler, be an Elvis in command of a starship, as an homage. And I was like, okay, good, because I've got something for you, and. And I wrote these scenes, and so there's Tyler and another character that you'll discover that is played by Alex Rexford, and honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all comes out.
It's funny because it's like you read a Josh Irwin script and your impulse was, this needs more comedy. No one's ever come to that conclusion in the past. And I'm even looking at this going, is this going too far? and Jonathan played the one card with me he knew would work. I'm not going to say what it was, but he played a card with me and I went, damn you, you're right. We're okay. We're doing this.
Well, and here's the thing, and I realize that we were going to be talking about Knights of the Void, but here we are. We're going to re-talk about Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs. There were some funny moments in Josh's original script, but they were definitely gags that were sort of like, there were road signs, laugh here, and I was like, okay, but there weren't enough of them because it's not a comedy. But at the same point in time, when you sprinkle in that little dose of laughter, you start thinking, okay, well, it needs comedy relief. And I thought to myself, let's give it just a little bit more. Let's just salt and pepper in a little bit more comedy. So it wasn't that I wanted to turn it into, some kind of, laugh a minute sitcom. It was simply that it felt like it was almost there. And I just like, oh, I want a little bit more. And because there's so many different realities, and that's the beauty of doing these multi-universal crossovers, is you can create your own universe if you want. And so indeed, that's kind of what I did. It didn't interfere with anything you already had going. It was just simply the addition of one new universe and these two new characters. And I'll leave it there. But I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how it came out, because I saw, some clips from it, and it looks like you guys had an absolute ball doing.
Oh, we had an amazing time. And look, Knights was the finishing of Knights of the Void came in that big shooting block where we shot Crisis and we shot Once and Future Captain. Knights was part of that, at least finishing it up. And so, yeah, we had shot scenes for like 3 different other films, and then we would do a scene for Knights, all in one day. And it was like, we had an amazing time during that whole block of shooting. It was absolutely a fun, memorable time period of filming that, we haven't released anything in a while until now, because we took our time to just go film everything. And yeah, everybody loved it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm most fascinated about as far as Avalon Universe goes, is how you really do, and especially these last 3 episodes, that you're filming multiple films at the same time, and very significantly filming. I mean, there's a lot that goes into shooting 3 different fantasy, especially when you have costume changes and character changes and lighting changes and whatever. Which brings me back to point over there. No, there, Tyler. So because you have been stepping more into the director position in all of this stuff, first of all, how do you prepare for a huge shoot like this, where you're shooting multiple fan films, on the same day? And then, well, okay. Well, let's start with that first question. How do you prepare?
Well, the first thing I do is, go print myself, multiple hard copies, at least, 2 or 3 hard copies of each separate script, and, go through and, I give each, I have like 5 or 6 different colors of highlighters, and on the front cover, I'll assign, I'll color code the characters, so I know who's who and, what's what, and then I'll go through and, anyway, and bring them to set, of course. And I'll read through and putting myself in the mindset of each character, and like, what, how do I envision, or how does, Josh envision this person acting or reacting or whatever. And then, we do rehearsal and all that. We usually do rehearsals, on the day. Sometimes we do them, ahead of time. Sometimes we'll do like a video call or something, like a table read. And, I might give notes or directions, that way. But mainly I'll wait and hold most of the, direction. And obviously you can't do blocking over a, video call, but, we do all the blocking, and I give direction notes and everything, once I'm confident that all the actors, are solid with their dialogue, because, until, if an actor is still trying to memorize dialogue, like on the day or, whatever, well, we got to get that locked down before I can start saying, stuff like, oh, this is your motivation, or this is what how this character is thinking or reacting or whatever. Well, you gotta have your lines first. So,
Now, when you say blocking, I know what blocking means. Josh knows what blocking means. You know what the blocking means. But there's a lot of people watching this who may not know what blocking means. So can you explain that?
Blocking is, where the characters stand and or move to, so you start here, and then when action is called, if a character is going to walk around another character to the other side of a table or whatever, and then end in that position, that's blocking.
It's essentially the staging of the scene, the character movement and interaction within the scene.
Yeah, but there's a lot more to it than that. Which I know here I am answering your question for you, but no, I mean the thing about blocking is it's important that the actors know exactly where they're moving, because the guy behind the camera needs to pull focus if they're walking towards or away from the camera, right? And the lighting has to track them. So blocking is actually a very, very serious, very careful thing, right, guys?
Yep,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's why you put little pieces of tape on the you look at where they're standing. You get the actor is standing wherever they're standing. The camera and the lights, all get set up and everything and focused in, and you set up the shot, and then to the actor, don't move. You take a piece of tape, put it where their foot is. Okay, now you can move.
And you may have an instance where you block the shot, you block the action in the scene first, because what happens in the scene is more important than the camera angle, and then you decide the camera angles to shoot it from, or you decide what you want to do camera-wise. Maybe you have a specific shot in mind and you block to that shot. So either may happen depending on the situation.
Now, typically, when Josh is directing and being director of photography or whatever, and everything is all Josh, it's probably easy for him to figure out blocking. But when you guys are working together and Tyler is being more of the actor's director and Josh is being more of a technical director, how does that work together? How do you guys mind meld what you want out of a scene?
I have to give Tyler a lot of credit in that he works just to support whatever it is I've got in mind. I mean, it's very rare that he tries to do something different than whatever I'm asking for. He'll just figure out how to make what's going on match my overall vision, and that's amazing. That's a quite a mindset that some people don't have.
Well, I mean, I don't know how else I would do it. I mean, it's like it's your movie. You're the director, so what do you want? Tell me what you want. I'll make it happen. And I mean, I can't imagine being like, well, no, we need to do it this way. How dare you tell me how to direct your film? I mean,
you can't imagine.
I can't imagine anybody doing it. Yeah, no, never. I know. Over a million years, could I imagine anybody saying something like that?
I know. Well, I don't. I can't relate to or empathize with that mindset. I just, it's like, it's your movie. Tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen for you. And yeah. Well, you said it's rare. You said it's rare that I ever try to do something other than what you asked for. I'd say when that ever does happen, it's because I misunderstood what you're at.
Well, actually, what I was referring to is you might improv dialogue. And in that case, that's something that I've always trusted you with, because I feel like those improvisations always add a huge layer to what it is we're trying to do. I mean, some of the dialogue that's been called out in the comments of the film, where people are saying they like this exchange, it has been an exchange that Tyler improv'd with Tori. The part where she says, you're making this shut up, when she's talking about his Klingon half brother, and Mason responds, well, I'm flattered you think I'm that creative. That was something Tyler improv.
You're making this shit up.
I'm flattered you think I'm that creative. That just came to me. I was like, well, I'm glad you think I have that much imagination, because this is a pretty crazy situation. I could not possibly make this shit up, because I'm, not that imaginative.
That was Josh, because he wrote the episode. But so when you improv like that, is that something where Josh isn't expecting it and the camera's running and like, okay, we've got gold? Or is like, once you've improv'd it, can we try to get it again? And you try to remember what you just said?
No. Well, with, if saying that I improv something, I mean, I'll come up with it in my head before we do the shot. And I'll usually tell him, hey, I'm going to say this just for, the purposes of, the other actor knowing their cue, or, when to say the next line, or him knowing when to cut. But yeah, I usually tell him, and sometimes I don't. And it doesn't really matter anymore, because like he just said, he trusts me to, he knows that I'm going to give him something that he's going to like.
Well, I trust him because the times that he has improv and not told me has led to a lot of laughter, both on and behind the camera. Yeah. So, and that trust came from non-Star Trek films where he did a lot of improv. There's one scene in particular that was between Tyler and Victoria Archer, where they were in a restaurant playing two characters, and Tyler was in character, and he was in character so much that Victoria couldn't stop laughing. He had to, when we got in her close up, he had to play it straight because he was entertaining her so much with his character that she wouldn't stop laughing. And there was one time in a film we did called Your Local News where sometimes what he'll do is if he improvs, he may do it differently every take. So he may give me a variety of things. And then there was this one take where he made a joke, and I had to bite my tongue until I turned off the record button, and then everybody lost it in the entire location because what he said was hilarious.
Well, yeah, it was pretty. I don't think I can say it here, but it was so outlandish that, like, the background actors, and these are like some of them, professional people that that like teach theater at the university. They just, when I said, that this one particular line, we couldn't have used the take anyway because you could see the background actors just like.
It was kind of a mic drop style like joke where he just kind of dropped this line and then walked out of the shot.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. But I've known over the course of over a decade now that if he improvs something, he's going to give me something really, really fun and neat. And what we did end up going with, even in that project, was good. So, it's a level of trust in somebody who's very talented, who's very smart, who's clever, can think on his feet, and is a very good actor. So, and is, the other element too is knowing this person cares about me. He cares about what it is we're trying to create. And that trust comes from knowing what his intent is in doing what he does. He's trying to make this the best film he can. He's trying to be supportive of me, and he's got my back. You know what I mean? And so there's a level of trust from seeing the quality of the material that he comes up with, and there's a level of trust that comes from the friendship that he and I have had for a very, very long time.
How long have you guys been friends? It's got to be forever.
Over 30 years.
31 years?
Almost 32 now.
How did you guys first meet?
So I dressed as a Borg for Halloween. And this is when I was in
You're 11.
fourth or fifth grade, something like that. It was the Halloween right after the Best of Both Worlds Part 2. That's how long ago it was. And so I dressed as a Borg, and I go to the mall because they'd have this like Malloween where you could go to the different stores and get candy. And I'm walking through the mall, and there are all these people dressed in Starfleet uniforms around the table. And I'm like, oh, wow, all those people are wearing Star Trek costumes. So I went up and talked to them, and they were Starfleet International, which Jonathan is a member of. They were the USS Marco Ramius. And they invited me to start attending their meetings, and they made me a cadet. And the first officer of the USS Marco Aurelius was a guy named Chris Donovan. And he had this little brother who was my age, and we started hanging out.
Now, is that little brother, the son of a Klingon, and you were just half brothers, or?
Well, what's interesting about that story is that it was actually Tyler's brother who came up with that, not the one from the Marco Aurelius. There's a middle brother. So there's 3 Donovan brothers. There's the oldest is Chris, middle one is Grant, and Tyler's the youngest. And I had never met Grant until, unfortunately, until their father's funeral. And that's where I met Grant for the first time. And Grant had this, I think it was a dream.
Yeah, he binged all of Avalon up to Agent, I believe. At least Cosmic Dream.
You watch or read Avalon before you go to sleep. It invades your dreams, and then you wake up with script ideas. It just happens.
So he had this dream about Mason's Klingon half brother, called Tyler and said, "Hey, I had this dream about Mason has a Klingon brother," and he kind of wrote down some of it, and he sent it to Tyler. Tyler brings it to me going, "Oh, he had this funny dream, but he wrote this down." They didn't think I was going to go for it. And I was like, "Oh, that would," because I already was kind of envisioning where it was all going. So I was like, "Wait a minute, that would be a really neat element to go from here to there." And so I said, "Let's just do it."
Now,
the dream he had was that Mason encountered, Mason's on the bridge of what he thought would be the Excalibur. It's, because of circumstances, Mason's actually on the Yorktown, but so he had this dream that Mason's on the bridge of the Excalibur, and they run into this Klingon ship, and it's like, "Oh, Captain, the Klingons are asking for an audience with us, and they want to beam over," and they just beam over, like intruders, like they're without permission, and Mason security rush to the transporter room, and the Klingons beam on board, and there's this Klingon standing there going, "Hello, brother," but it's him. It's in my brother's dream, it was him. He was standing on the transporter pad, but he was a Klingon.
All right, now I need to understand.
That's where it started, and then they expanded on it. He wrote this script that it was just a fun little idea. It wasn't like neither one of us were actually trying to had the intention of pitching it to Josh to actually film, because the way my brother wrote it, he didn't know what all was going on, with the story arc and everything. So some of the things he wrote didn't fit anyway. But he was like, "No, I just did this for fun, just for you guys, for your reading enjoyment, basically." It's just something, fun to laugh at. And Josh reads it, and Josh is like, "Yeah, let's do that." I'm like, "What? Really? Wait, what?"
He made it work.
Yeah. And he was going, Grant, my brother Grant does a lot of like community theater when he lived in Kentucky. I don't know if he's found that now, where he just moved to Dallas. But anyway, he does a lot of, stage and things like that. And he was originally going to play. He was supposed to play Mason's Klingon half brother, and then I heard it from you. I didn't even know. Like, he had to back out like a week before, and then when I showed it to, like, he just couldn't do it. For reasons I still don't know exactly why.
It was just a scheduling conflict, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it." And so it was like, "Oh crap," because it was like we were right about to do it. And so I went to, we had just like a few days, and I work with a guy named Jason Pitts at my day job, who is also a fan filmmaker, but in a different genre. He made this, Jason Voorhees movie called Night of the Beast, where Jason Voorhees fights Bigfoot, and really, really fun movie. And I'd seen it, loved it, and he and I talked film all the time, and he was really plugged into the film community too. And I went to him and I was like, "Man, I need a guy right away who can play a Klingon. Do you know anybody? I'm trying to look for a replacement actor." And he was like, it wasn't even 10 seconds. He's like, oh, there's this guy, Jason Durkee. And he gave that guy my phone number, and we talked on the phone, and I told him what we were doing, and he came out to flip all the way to flipping. And we also our makeup artist, Michelle, was not available that day too. That kind of a last minute, oh crap. And so again, this guy does horror movies, Jason Pitts, and I was like, well, now we need somebody to do effects makeup. And he goes, here's my friend Trinity Biana. And she came out spur of the moment, did the Klingon makeup. So we had two people who'd never been on our production before just show up one day, do makeup, do a part. And Jason Durkee, who played the Klingon half brother, Commander Quala, had so much fun that once he was out of makeup and stuff, he hung around the rest of the day while we filmed the other scenes and just hung out with us.
Yeah.
And he was super nice. He was the nicest guy ever.
Nicest Quentin.
Yeah, he was just he was jazzed. He was excited to be there. He just wanted to hang out on a film set. We just made a new friend that day, and it was a wonderful day. And we also, because we shot that scene between the two of them, and then we spent the rest of the day shooting Crisis. And so he stayed for another like 6 or 7 hours while we shot all this stuff for Crisis after that.
That is really cool. Now, I do have to ask a physics question here. So Derek Mason's father and this Klingon's father are the same person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So he got drunk one night. I'm guessing the father is the Klingon.
No, the father is the human and the mother is the Klingon.
How could he have a Klingon dad?
Well, that was it. Well, that's the thing I was trying to figure out, because he talks about the father's vision and the stove or whatever. Yeah. And it just seemed
but that's his Klingon interpretation of the father's vision.
Oh,
the father had a dream, told this to the Klingon son. The father kept saying, I don't think Derek is dead. I've had this vision. For all he knew, it came from the cosmic stream aliens. And he tells his Klingon son, who interprets it through Klingon mythology.
Yeah.
And that's how his son knew where his brother knew where to find it, is because the cosmic stream aliens had kind of given them this heads up. And I wanted the father element to be an important part of what brought them together, because Tyler's father had recently passed, and that was an element in he and his brothers coming together again, because there had been some animosity between them, and that was an element of them, reuniting. And so I kind of translated that into the story a little bit. Now, another element to it was when we were filming in Kingsland with Jason Spriggs, they walk into the transporter room and he's like, I have to ask, brother. And Mason's like, my dad got drunk one night on Arcanus 4. And we're like rehearsing that scene, and Spriggs goes, I just have one question. Why am I counting to 2? And I said, because Klingons have 2.
Yeah.
And he's just expressing like, how does that work?
Thank you,
He kind of didn't he?
He kind of goes, kind of like that, He's just kind of like, what?
So, I have to ask, brother.
My dad got drunk on Arcanus 4 one night.
Right.
Energize.
By the way, just a quick tangent thing. I have to credit Star Trek Discovery for sort of undoing the damage that or Star Trek Strange New Worlds for undoing the damage that Star Trek Discovery did, in that the flashbacks of the Klingon War, we don't have fully shaven Klingons with 4 nostrils in the flashback. They are just regular 2 nostrils, hairy Klingons. And thank you for just...
I actually spoke with Nitpicking Nerd, and who is also Major Grin on YouTube, and told him my idea of, you need to do a video that juxtaposes this interview with Alex Kurtzman where he's like, Klingons shave in time of war, with, you know, this flashback in Strange New Worlds and the Discovery stuff, and then title the video Alex Kurtzman forgot that Klingons shave their head in time of war, and he said he was going to do it. So
actually, in the blog that I just wrote about that review of that episode, it was very obvious why the flashbacks were hairy Klingons, and the reason was very, very simple. It couldn't distract from what was going on, which is that M'Benga was killing these Klingons. And why are these bald Klingons? Why do they suddenly have four nostrils or whatever? It would just have been too distracting from the scene. So you basically need to make, you know, if General / Ambassador Ra is, you know, with hair, then the other Klingons have to be with hair. You can't be asking that question in the middle of such an important.
And look, sometimes you retcon things because you're trying to make the you know, maybe you made the wrong creative choice previously, or maybe you're just trying to do the best thing you can do now. And that kind of brings up kind of a little bit of what we're doing is we're retconning some of our canon here, especially in this film, because we have a character who's our main through line bad guy who's a Klingon, and in a previous episode he was a rich-headed Klingon with armor. And look, that performer who did that part did a great job.
Yeah,
he's a guy I like a lot. Charles Fultz, great guy. We had a great time with him on set. Nothing but good things to say, but we don't have the opportunity to have him in that role anymore. And so when we brought a new actor on board, we decided to just commit to retconning that character for the sake of making it the best character for the actor we have now. And so, you know, Sean wanted to do a Klingon who was more of a hybrid between the TOS style Klingons and the Ridgehead Klingons, something that was maybe half in between. And he got somebody very special to design an appliance and somebody very special to do that makeup. And we were very privileged to have that. And we felt that in this film, because we're doing that retcon, that it was important to go ahead and foreshadow that and establish that going in.
Because obviously he's going to return.
Right.
Yeah. Well, won't give away anything to, you know, upcoming episodes, except that you might see him. That's not.
Yeah, that's the shot that he's in Knights of the Void was actually shot for Once a Future Captain, and I didn't know Josh was going to use it in Knights, but it works. I like it. I like the placement of that. So.
Yeah. But that wouldn't be the only time that you retconned a different actor or actress playing the same character as me.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do that. Look, it's Star Trek New Voyages did it, and some other series have done that. So, you know, it's not unheard of in fan films. Look, fan films are fan films, and real TV shows have done that. So, you know, it's just part of it sometimes. I always made this joke that I wanted to do like the thing that they do in soap operas, where it's like, the part of this character will now be played by this actor. Like my dad was real into soap operas when I was a little boy, kind of still is. The only time I ever get my dad to answer text messages is I text him about soap operas. But I remember one time I woke up before I was going to go to work when I was like a teenager, and he was watching a soap opera in the kitchen, and I just hear him say, I know why so-and-so's confused. Everyone keeps saying this person's Billy and they're not Billy, you know, because they had switched the actor. But, you know, so it's a thing that happens sometimes, and it can work out very well. And it can sometimes, you know, if like, it's, you know, not everything's Dick Sargent. So.
Yep. Sometimes it's Dick York. Okay, and now the only other question I sort of had on my mind to ask Tyler, because I know Josh's origin story in that, you know, you went to film school, this is how you learned all your stuff. So Tyler, what's your background in terms of acting and training for it and experience?
Or the lack of training, rather formal training anyway. Acting just came naturally to me when I was a kid. I always wanted to perform. I always wanted to, I just had that spirit. I liked to, entertain people and make people laugh, even, from very early childhood. I remember every time like relatives would come in from out of town, they would always be like, "Oh, have little Tyler sing that "We Are the World" song," or whatever. And I would always, do like the Ray Charles part was like my favorite, and and I would do the Cyndi Lauper or everything. They were just expecting me to sing it straight. But anyway, that's I always played the the lead role in all the elementary school play, like all the school plays that I was in, from like first grade through to like junior high. And then did a little bit of Shakespeare in junior high in like 8th and 9th grade. And then I got out of it for a long time. And in high school, I just, I only took like one drama class, and, I had a job. So the school played the school musicals, the high school musicals that my high school did had a rule that you couldn't be in the musical if you had a job. And I was like, kind of bullshit is that? I'm like, okay, fine. That's kind of discriminatory, but whatever. Bye. I'm gonna go make money and make your stupid play or whatever. So I kind of got out of it in high school and didn't do any acting for a very long time. And then summer of 2011, my brother Grant, I saw a post that he made on Facebook that said, auditions went great tonight. If anybody's interested, they're still going on tomorrow night. And I was like, auditions, what is this? I'm like, is Grant's getting back into acting? I was like, well, I can't let my brother get back into acting and I don't. I'm like, what? So I called him up and I was like, what's this about? He said, oh, it's the local, it's the ACO Art Center of the Ozarks, which is the local community theater in our hometown of Springdale, Arkansas. He said it's their production of Hello, Dolly. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, not super well, it is ironic because when I was in high school and they had that rule that, you can't be in the musical if you have a job. My drama teacher that's when I was in that one drama class. And she said to me, Tyler, I'd like you to audition because I think you'd make a great Barnaby. And I read a little bit for that part, and in this 2011 stage production, and I read for that part, and I like sang like a verse of the song, one of the songs from the musical, and I got the part of Barnaby, which my high school drama teacher told me that I'd be perfect for. So it's and my brother was cast as Cornelius. So my brother Grant and I were playing Cornelius and Barnaby, and the dynamic was perfect. And after that, we rehearsed for a couple months, did 7 shows, and then it was over. And then, I got interested in film acting. And, I met a guy at this like local business network, business networking meeting, who said that he was trying to make short films. That guy named a friend of ours named Paul Newton. And then I ran into Josh for the first time in maybe 15 years or more. I was working in my oldest brother's computer shop, and Josh came in one day and he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" He was like, "Tyler Donovan, wow, I haven't seen you in forever." And then he was like, "Hey, do you do any acting?" And I was like, "Funny you say that. I just got back into acting, and I'm not opposed to doing some film stuff." And he said, "Well, I'm making this little short film, this 90s B action parody coming up pretty soon. Do you want to play the bad guy, or do you want to play the like supporting like special agent character?" I was like, "I want to be the bad guy." So
we had kept up to a degree though. We talked on the phone, and we talked on Messenger and social media and stuff. And Tyler went away and was in the Air Force, and and I left for college and stuff like that. So, there was kind of a period of time where we didn't really hang out a lot or whatever, but we did sort of keep up with each other. But then when we saw each other again, you know, it was like nothing had changed.
I love friendships like that where, you know, you get back together and it's just like, oh yeah, I saw you yesterday. No, that was for 15 years ago. So Tyler, so you don't really have any formal training at all? Did you ever like take acting classes somewhere, just sort of like night school or something like that?
I've taken not any like university or college sanctioned. I mean, I have taken a couple of, you know, classes from some, you know, local people that were just putting on a class for anyone who wants to, you know, pay. You know, it'd be like a 6-week or it's an 8-week class or whatever, one night a week. But nothing that ever got me like college credits or anything like that. No.
It was workshop style stuff where just any old actor could show up and practice the craft. And there were a few of those that he and I both went to, and we actually won. I'm not crazy. You know, we did that whole bit, the frame of mind for the acting class.
Cool. So Tyler, I mean, because you know, honestly, I think everybody would agree you're a very, very accomplished actor. I mean, you have some very good skills that, you know, I mean, at least Derek Mason and I also, you know, watched you in local news. You know, you
very different, vastly different characters.
Exactly, but the thing is that you can do different characters. You know, you're not just a starship captain. You know, I've seen you. You know, I've seen you do other things, and you know, so I just assumed that you would, you know, had a significant amount of training experience, and you know, so without that, I'm wondering, because I know that you are directing in Avalon people who are theater trained, school trained actors and actresses. So how does that affect your direction of them? I mean, if you don't necessarily know the terms of acting, I guess you do because you've taken some classes or whatever, but I mean, you know, do you find yourself more struggling to, you know, communicate on that level, or is it just like, no, you know, they know?
No, well, because, you know, with in particular, well, for example, in the case of you know, Sean Patrick Kennedy, who's an amazing and very accomplished professional stage actor. It's more, you know, when I'm dealing with an actor of that caliber, it becomes more collaborative than me, you know, telling an actor, okay, this is what you're going to do. You know, it's more, okay, Sean, what do you think about this? And the thing about our scene together is, I mean, I'm playing the good guy, you know, I'm the hero, he's the villain, and I'm also co-directing while Josh is directing, and we basically just, there were only a few lines scripted. I think there was, you know, like 2 or 3 lines for him, and then 1 line for me that I can remember that were actually in the script. And it just kind of evolved as we improv all of our dialogue in that entire scene. Almost everything that we sang.
The blocking.
Came up with. We basically came up with that entire scene. So, and it worked. But yeah, and you know, and even a guy like Sean, you would think, you know, a person of that status would, you know, have more of an ego and be like, well, you know, who are you to direct me? I know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah.
No, he was great.
No, he was awesome. He was like, yeah. So like I said, it was just very collaborative. But yeah, even, you know, a guy like him, he just put his trust in us and was like, hey, so what do you guys, you know, what are you thinking? Or we would talk to Sean on the phone weeks beforehand and be like, and he would throw ideas at us like, okay, here's what I have in mind. You know, I was thinking, you know, we could do this thing where, you know, you come at me and then I grab you and I'd pick you up and throw you, you know, whatever. And, you know, we'd kind of, you know, discussed some of the action, the choreography and all that kind of stuff over the phone. And then when we got together, that's when it got real. It's like, okay, this is going to work. This is not, you know, and things we hadn't even thought of. We would just come up with things to say. I came up with one of my lines that I just came up with because of something that he did that he didn't do every time, but he did this thing one time where when he was saying, you know, his line, he was like, I'm so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. And I wanted you to know, and, he had done 3 or 4 takes of it already, and I wanted you to know, blah blah blah, who it was that's going to kill you, And there was one take that he did where as he's saying, and I wanted you to know, and he points he's got his knife in his hand, and he points it at me. And that inspired me to come up with a smart ass thing to say back. And that became part of the dialogue. And, there was a lot of things like that he would say something, and then I would think of, something smart ass for Mason to say. But sorry, I digress, not to get into spoilers or too much detail about that. But no, I've been just blown away at the level of trust that the actors put in me as a director. I mean, I've never encountered on Avalon anyway. While in, that's a different story. Well, because Josh apparently didn't bother telling everyone that I was the co-director. So I'm trying to direct people who don't even know that I'm the director. But anyway, so yeah, no, I wasn't getting the respect there. But yeah, since I've been directing again in Avalon, I've never encountered an actor, whether it be a principal, background, whatever, or anyone really, cast or crew that gave me any kind of attitude or questioned, me as a director or my ability to direct. No one's ever given me that sense of, well, who do you think you are? You don't know what you're doing. You're not qualified, blah, blah, blah. Any of that. I've never gotten any of that. So, like I said, even from people like Sean,
Tyler approaches it with a very charismatic attitude. He's very friendly. He's not bossy. He doesn't come in and be like, well, this is what you need to do. He doesn't come in like that. He comes in like he's their friend. Hey, everyone, let's do this. And he has this very open, disarming way of just trying to get everyone involved in getting a scene going. And one of I guess kind of the best gauge that I can give of that is Warren Hawk, because Jonathan, as you know, the thing that you run into with Warren Hawk is he can get nervous, and if he gets nervous in a scene, you're gonna have a hard time getting the material out of him, because he's gonna really get in his own head. Even though he's a great actor, if he gets nervous, he starts to overthink it. Tyler just disarmed him. The moment that the two of them got together, Tyler just utterly, he wasn't even thinking about anything. It was just like they were 2 peas in a pod. Tyler was doing impressions of him. They were talking about vaping, whatever else, girls, and they were just, they were bros. They were best friends instantly. And Warren was so relaxed, he fell asleep in the captain's chair. And we're doing a scene, and he's just it's like, hey, Warren, you're in this shot. You want to play your character?
What's our good?
Sorry, man. I was. We had the best first 24 hours we've ever had performance-wise of an Avalon Universe film. The previous record was held by Demons in 2019, where we did about 8,800 views in the first 24 hours. And we beat that out by over 1,000 views, did just about 10,000 straight up in the first 24 hours. And at 48, we're just over 17,000 according to the analytics. So I am absolutely humbled and grateful to our audience and the people that have supported us by watching it. The film has obviously resonated well with people. The comments have been overwhelmingly positive. People have just liked the film, and it's wonderful for me, because the day before, when I was getting ready to launch it, I'm just looking at it and I'm seeing every flaw as a filmmaker. I'm like, oh, you can see Tyler's, Apple Watch in that shot, or, the length of his hair is
communicator.
or it's different here. Or, I reused a couple of shots from previous films, which that never happens in Star Trek. But so I'm looking at the film and I'm seeing all the flaws of it, but then the people who watched it loved it. And so it's sometimes you know, the filmmaker can get in their own head too, and I'm glad that people have enjoyed it.
You know, Kuala, the Klingon half brother, you know, gets frustrated with Mason and says, "Enough question." And in, you know, in every take, he, you know, whether it was my close up or his close up or wide shot or whatever, he played it the same every time. He would actually slam his fist down on the desk, on that table, the, you know, briefing room table. And there was a little comms panel, you know, sitting next to me that wasn't glued down. It was just sitting freely. And on that close up of me, when he does it, he slams his fist down and the thing just falls over and it makes this loud noise. It just goes, tink. And I just, you know, rather than, I was like, well, this isn't going to be used anyway now that happened. But instead of like reacting to it and, you know, it being like a blooper, I just reached over, picked it up, and I was like, fine. So it's always back to Starbase. And Josh used it. In the final cut, when I saw that, I was like, that's hilarious.
Enough questions! You must act now!
Fine. I love.
Why not?
Why not? No, that's cool. You know, I mean, nobody ever said the ship can't, you know, fall over like that.
Well, one thing I want to say real quick about Tyler and about his character. You know, we've talked about roles that he's played in other films, and I've always, you know, kind of operated from the place of, you know, it's more fun for an actor to play a bad guy. And so I was always giving Tyler these bad guy roles because he was the more talented actor. So he would play the bad guy. He would play a villain or a foil or something in a film. But this time in Avalon Universe, we've made him the hero. And at first, you know, Mason's this, you know, jovial guy who's making jokes about stuff and he's not taking things as seriously. And he's kind of the butt of some of the jokes. And I had a different mindset when I was writing that. There was a reason I was going that way that has since changed. But Mason has changed a bit. He's found himself in a situation where he's had to find his inner hero. He's had to be strong. You know, they're in this crazy situation. First he's in this shuttlecraft and he thinks he's going to die. So he sacrifices himself. That's heroic. Then he finds himself at the mercy of these aliens and he has to do something heroic. And now here he is on this ship that's about to blow up and he's got to do something heroic. And he's trying to also be a very supportive friend to the woman he loves who's on this journey with him. And Mason has gone from just being the guy who's cracking the jokes. Oh, well, we've been busy. Oh, it can't hurt them. They're dead. You know, he has become a hero, and simultaneously he's grown a beard, and thus the character has grown the beard. So, you know, which is official lingo, you know, going back to with Riker became a better character when he grew the beard. And the same is true with Mason. And I've been very proud of the way that Tyler has shown that protagonism in the character, that he's changed and grown and become the hero and captain that he was meant to be without losing who he is at the core.
Well, I can't top that. Well, in that case, since I can't top it, and I think we've gone to our full hour, or at least a little bit over, maybe. I thank you again for more of your time and new things to talk about. My guess is we'll be back here again in a few months after Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs. Keep the fingers crossed.
Is there time, real quick, for Tyler to just quickly comment on Mason and that hero's journey a little bit?
Oh, sure.
I mean, I think you said it. You know, I don't know what else I can add to that. You know, we started to really get that character development with him in Cosmic Stream, which I really liked because, you know, we saw, you know, in Ghost Ship, he's obviously very private, very guarded about his private life, about his, you know, emotions. He's very, you know, emotionally cut off. He doesn't really let anybody in. And then in Cosmic Stream, we kind of see why. You know, we get that backstory and kind of understand a little more, you know, what makes him tick. And, you know, that's where it started. And then, you know, like Josh said, it just continues to the character just continues to develop. And I'm very grateful to Josh for the way that the character has evolved. Because when I looked at it, honestly, when I left, one of the main reasons was that I read the script for Demons and I was like, this is garbage. I don't want to do it. I hate this. Because everything that, Ramirez says and does in Demons was written for Mason. And I was like, I don't want to be this character, this humiliating, insulting. So, bye. And it's been very, very different this go around. So I'm grateful to Josh for that. So,
I kind of did him dirty, and I've come to regret the decisions that I made and how I acted and why. And there's going to be another scene between Tyler's character and mine at the very, very end of all of it that's going to transcend just the story of Avalon. It's gonna be kind of about him and I as well, where we kind of on screen put right some things that I did wrong.
Really great job with Mason. And I'm going to just applaud you all for everything you've been doing. I am going to thank you again for your time, and I will let poor Tyler get going with the rest of his evening. Thank you guys again. We will see you for Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs.
Looking forward to it.